We want to welcome everybody today to Mom and Dad Talks, where our favorite people are mom and dad, and of course, Auntie. She's my other mom. Yay! So all three of us are here today. Praise the Lord. And today, you know what? I'm going to share something with everybody here. And for those of you who don't know it, it's the Mountaintop Speech by Martin Luther King, April 3rd.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Amen. Unfortunately, the next day,
yes,
Martin Luther King was assassinated.
the next day.
The next day. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about that is that he was sick that night where he couldn't do that speech. In fact, they say it's okay if you don't, but he says, I have to do this speech. Mm-hmm. That'll be the last speech he would ever make in this life. Mm-hmm. So the question is today, what were you guys and where were you at when Martin Luther King was assassinated? And how did you feel? Because this is history right here. We're talking Black history here. And you guys will experience that. Tell us your experience when this happened.
I can tell you mine. I was playing for a church, a Baptist church, Mount Calvary, in my hometown where I still live in Niles. And I remember the pastor of the church, Pastor Neighbors, coming down the aisle, real somber into the church. We had been singing and he interrupted us and he said, I just came to tell you that Martin Luther King just got shot. And at that moment, you know, it takes your breath away. You're not looking for a message like that. Mm-hmm. But that's exactly where I was that night that he got shot. And it's just like yesterday that I'm in that church and I can, get that. I get the message of his passing, of his getting shot to death.
Mm. Dad, what was your experience?
It was my first year teaching. I taught high school English at South Bend Washington High School, English and business. And in the evening, I sold clothing, men's clothing at Gilbert's Clothing Store in South Bend. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was there, well, I can't remember his name now, but one of the tailors came up and said, you know, Martin Luther King was just shot and killed.
Mm.
I said, what? He was just shot and killed. And I was shocked. And a group of us got together and we prayed.
Mhm.
I remember at the high school at South Bend, Washington, the next day,
Mhm.
there were some racial tensions
Yes.
because at that time, they consolidated some of the schools. They shut down some of the schools, and you had a combination of Black students, Hispanic students, Polish students, and it was just a hotbed for riots. And there was walkouts and marches, and the police had to be called. And I remember that Mike Sippets and I were at the front door, holding the door shut
Mhm.
at the high school, and it was just, it's nothing like being in the middle of a racial riot
Mm.
with kids. The police were called out and they arrested some of the kids, and it was totally unbelievable,
Mm.
totally unbelievable. People were upset, people were mad, and at that time when we were trying to conglomerate all the races together,
Yeah.
and it's eventually worked out, but not right away.
Mm. Mm. Hanty, welcome back. We
Sorry.
missed you.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I know you had to take care of business, but what were you doing, Hanty, during 1968 when this happened?
Thursday night.
April 4th, 1968. Yeah.
Well, I believe that I was off from work, so I was at home
Mhm.
in on Anderson Road,
Mhm.
and Frank was an activist then.
Yeah.
You know, he always politics, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. He was so very upset. We were standing in Mother's living room,
Mm.
and when the news came on,
Yeah.
and he was just very upset.
Mm.
And that was something that I learned about him because we weren't married yet.
Mhm.
We were still
Planning
dating.
it.
Planting.
Disregard the last statement.
Working things out. Okay.
So I was in awe of these two things coming together
Mhm.
into my life. I said, what? You know, there are some people
Yeah.
you think are gonna live forever.
Right.
And Martin Luther King was one of those, you know, that there's everybody loves him, and
Mhm.
I knew everybody didn't love him like you know we did,
Right.
but we had to adjust. We had to go from black to white
Mm.
in a matter of seconds.
Wow.
So we had to, and you know that's not easy. There was no gray area.
Yeah.
And even if he had just lived for 10 minutes, that
Yeah.
would have helped us adjust. You know?
Mm.
And I think that the biggest thing was the adjustment of here now, but not later.
Mm. I mean, because that was a big part of your youth growing up with Martin Luther King.
Growing
Correct.
up,
What he was trying to do, and
Civil rights.
we were taught to respect that part of politics.
yeah, and like yeah, go ahead, Dad.
You know, and that was the age of the Afro and Black is Beautiful, and also the age of Martin Luther King was the head of the nonviolent movement.
Mm-hmm.
You had him with Stokely Carmichael and Malcolm X, who were, you know, really aggressive, and I felt he was the better choice
Mm-hmm.
because we were trying to incorporate with the becoming Americans,
Yeah.
peacefully, not forcefully.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, it said, okay, now the powder keg has been lit.
Yeah.
Now it's in America's ballpark.
Mm.
What is America going to do
gotta
about
deal with
this?
it. May I go into what his funeral was like?
Yeah,
Or
go ahead.
caring, okay.
Mhm.
We were having a youth congress in Atlanta, Georgia. It
Yes.
just happened to be the city that Martin Luther King's church,
Mhm,
Ebenezer Baptist Church, you
mhm.
know, all these things were mounting up.
Right.
And so we were going down for the youth congress, and his funeral was on Monday,
Mhm.
and we were going down on Thursday. And it was really, to me, it was really something that I cherished because, we are going down to Atlanta, the
Mhm.
city that he lived in, the city where his funeral was, the city where he's buried, and we get almost to see firsthand.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was really exciting for us. So we go to Atlanta, and on Sabbath afternoon,
Mhm.
somebody said, "Do you want to go to Martin Luther King's home where he lived?"
Mm,
And we caravanned over to his home.
mm,
Now, this is the very week he was buried.
mm.
That we knocked on the door.
Mhm.
Someone came to the door, and we said, "Well, we're here." We told them why we were here, and they invited us in.
Mm.
Mrs. King was not. She didn't come out, and
Yeah.
and I don't know where she was, but whoever greeted us, they were taking care of, I guess, all the
Yeah.
the cards or whatever that were coming in to, condolences.
Mhm.
But I thought that was so, I cherished that moment. And then they took us to where they buried him.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, he was entombed.
Mhm.
I mean, right.
Muslims.
Mausoleum. Yeah.
Mm.
We even went there. So it was really something that I felt honored. I felt good that
Mhm.
not only was I living in his time
Mhm.
that he lived, but also I experienced the loss of his life that same week that he.
It was a very somber and
Mhm.
occasion, a very sad occasion that
Mhm.
this nonviolent man was killed violently.
Yeah.
Violently.
Mm. Wow. Hannah, you want to say something?
No, I was just going through with both of these
Yeah.
statements, remembering because I wasn't very far behind.
So dating.
Um, and I was just reliving.
Yeah.
Now, the part of us going to her home
Mhm.
is a part that I don't really remember.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But everything else was true too. Cause
We went to the church also.
Yeah,
we
we
went
went-
to the church.
Yeah,
I
inside the
remember
church.
going to the church
Mhm.
Mhm.
and thinking and wondering, how could somebody just take somebody else's life?
Mm.
How does
Mm.
that how does that happen? It still has not come to me
Wow.
that somebody could take it upon themselves. I'm gonna take your life.
Today I'm gonna get you. It was amazing. Also, see, we were watching the funeral on TV.
Yeah.
Okay, before we left to go to Atlanta,
Right.
and there were just numbers of people swarmed around that church across the
Yeah.
street. And I said, and it was really exciting when we got to the church, and I looked across the street and I said, that's where all these crowds of people
were.
came
Yeah.
around. That was, it was an honor. I was saddened of his loss of his life, but I was also honored to be a part of the
Yeah.
thing that remembrance of what had happened and how
Mhm.
how we happened to be down there the same week that he's buried.
You could go by the Lorraine Hotel too.
That was Memphis. I didn't know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, but that I think. Yeah. Go ahead, Dad. What you want to say, Dad?
Nothing.
Well, I mean, I think that's such a powerful thing because you guys live what they call the tumultuous '60s. You saw a president get assassinated, right? Bobby Kennedy was assassinated, but Martin Luther King was a different kind of thing. It was kind of like, where do we go? How did you all feel? Did y'all feel like there was any hope after Dr. King was assassinated? What did you got? What was that like? I mean, I can't fathom of my hero in the midst of a struggle, just all of a sudden life was taken. Where do you go from here? Yeah.
Aiken.
Yeah.
snatched.
It was a loss. It was it was like our president being assassinated again. It was, we looked to Martin Luther King as, oh, he's going to save us. He's going to get us out of this. He's going to fight for our rights, and he's going to succeed. I just getting there, and I know I'm a different kind of person, but getting from that jump right there to, I gotta accept this. It almost hasn't happened yet.
Wow.
But for future, I mean, it can be later on, but let's not forget the lives that were taken in that church in the next couple of weeks.
Talk about that.
Remember
His
his
mother.
mother sitting at the organ.
Did that happen that soon after his death?
I would have to look that. You can look that up, but it
Yeah.
felt so close to me
Yeah.
that I was in
I
disbelief.
thought it was like,
And to have that much hate, to take a woman in church playing to God on an organ, not only are you disrespecting the life, you're disrespecting God in his own house, saying you're bigger than God. That's a demonic spirit.
Our Sabbath school lesson today.
Yes. It was very good Sabbath school lesson, by the way. And like I said, you guys experienced it. I read about it in history books. All I see is the videotapes that went on, right? But you guys are living history of what went on. And and to think about it, a perspective that you're able to go to the house of a woman who just lost her husband, whose kids just lost their father, and they were still gracious enough. People were still gracious enough to take you around. It's a time for God. Yeah, go ahead, Dad.
And that's the thing that surprised me, that there weren't more policemen around the house
Uh-huh.
at the service. Now, they might have been there and we didn't see them,
Uh-huh.
but we were able just to walk right up to the
in
door
house.
and walk into the house.
Wow.
They didn't know who we were or anything.
Wow.
That was truly amazing.
Sure was.
But yeah, it's awesome when you see history in the making.
And
Yeah.
they could have said, well, you know what? We don't know who you are. So we're not going to allow you to come in. But I mean, I was really shocked when they opened the door and greeted whoever it was, and just ushered us into the house.
And think about that. They understood that Martin Luther King was more than a father. More than that. He was the people's
Leader.
the people's hero.
He
And
was.
when you think about that, that is just utterly amazing to me. And so, like I said, I can't even fathom how you guys felt. You guys were young. You're young adults. Life is, you're about ready to, 3 more years, whatever, you're going to have some kids starting out and be parents. But for the fact of it is your hero from high school. I mean, you guys lived the civil rights movement from the 50s all the way up until 68. You saw Emmett Till get killed. You saw all these guys getting killed, just the right to vote. And you guys experienced for the first time in U.S. history that you were able to vote as a Black person in all 50 states. You witnessed that.
Segregation, even we experienced. I was 13 years old when we took our trip down to Louisiana for Christmas. Split the South wide open. We're from the North. And it blew our minds when we would stop at gas stations and they'd have colored restrooms and white restrooms. Go into a dime store and they'd have drinking fountains, one for the colored and one for the white. We were not used to that.
Yeah.
And so, we're right in this era for segregation and how it finally kind of subsided.
Yeah. I mean, so
took down those signs of the colors of
oh yeah, but
in the bathroom.
But you still have the thing of segregation, desegregation, all that whole mixing, how they're going to do it. People are angry. People are upset. And the country was never the same again, but it turned for the positive in this case. we found a way to heal and get together and to work things out, right? We still got a lot of things to work out, but wow, that you know what? That's before we close out, you have any other thoughts on memory lane about this whole thing of Dr. Martin Luther King in 1968, April 4th? Before we stop today, anybody else want to make
I
anything?
think I told it all of what I can, what was important to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for joining today, Mom and Dad Talks. I love it when especially, yeah, go ahead, Dad. You want to say?
No, I'm just moving in closer so you can see me.
I love it, Dad.
So we can hear.
What you say?
I love it. Well, we want to thank you all for joining us today for Mom and Dad Talks, for just a little bit of history of a great man. And the thing about it is that, this is something that we need to share with everybody about the times and the place and what it was like during those times. So thank you for coming. Till next time. See you next week. And this is Little Black History for you. Bye.
Bye.